Hi, my name is Amy and I'm a Chartered Physiotherapist from Clonakilty in West Cork, and I paddle with West Cork Kayak Club. Hannah asked me to talk to you today about active posture and also to talk to you about hips. So I suppose our hips and our back are very connected, and we know this ourselves from our paddling. We know the importance of having loose hips in the kayak, but we also know what happens if we sit in the kayak too long and our hips get very tight. So one of the things that's really important when we are sitting in our kayak is, what's really important is that all our different body parts all work independently, and they can all move independently to give us balance, but also to give us a nice paddle stroke. If we have a history of back pain, or if we have a history of hip pain, or as part of the normal aging process, our hips can get quite stiff, and the differentiation between our hips moving and our back moving can sometimes make the hip and the back almost move like one unit, and we can become very stiff from our belly button down. So what I wanted to do today was wanted to show you active paddling posture, but I also wanted to do some exercises to teach you how to separate your hip from your back. So in this way you won't be getting stiff backs if you're sitting too long, or you won't be getting the deep pain into your pelvis. Okay, so there are 5 principles that we think of when it comes to having an active posture. So we want an active posture that's dynamic, that reacts to the world around us. So there are 5 principles that we work ourselves on. So the first principle is very much what we call our breath. Okay, so when we are breathing very deep into our tummy muscles, what this does is it relaxes our body from the sternum up. So the first thing I want to do is I just want you to practice breathing into the front, back and side of our lungs, and exhale out. And front, back and side of our lungs, and exhale out. If we breathe up into our shoulders, what this does is it can cause tension in our lower back. So the deeper we breathe into our tummy, the less tension we have in our lower back. So the first thing I want you to remember is, at all times, just work on a soft, deep breath all the time. My second principle is my abs, okay? So put your hands on your tummy. So when we do lots of big deep breaths, we engage our deep abdominal muscles. And the reason for this is that our abdominal muscles are linked to our tummy muscles. So if we're breathing shallow breaths into our shoulder, our diaphragm and our abdominal muscles aren't working as strongly or as efficiently as they can be. So put your hands on your tummy. So when we do big deep breaths in, when we exhale out, breathe in, exhale out, we get an awful lot more tummy engagement, so we get an awful lot more strength around our core. Our third principle is our pelvic position, okay? So I want you to sit, wherever you're sitting, I want you to sit on your sitting bones, okay? When we sit, this is our third principle, when we sit on our sitting bones, my shoulders are over my hips and my head is over my shoulders. So wiggle and feel your sitting bones. If you come back off your sitting bones, my tummy gets bent in the middle, I can't take big deep breaths in, my shoulders start to get round, and my chin starts to poke. Okay, come back on your sitting bones again, and everything lengthens up. Come off your sitting bones forward. You feel your back starts to arch. You feel your chin start to come out. You feel your shoulders come up towards your ears. So let's take the weight back onto your sitting bones again. So we call that our third principle. So to recap, our first principle is our breath. Our second principle is our abs, which we engage by breath. The third principle is our pelvic position. So the best way to think about your pelvis, you think about your pelvis like a teacup. Okay, so when your teacup is tipped backwards, you slouch and slump in the middle. When your teacup is level, your head is balanced. When your teacup is tipped forward, your tummy sticks out and your back is very arched. So my head is the weight of 3 bags of flour. So when my pelvis is level, my head sits evenly on top. Okay? Our fourth principle is our shoulders. So with my shoulders, if my teacup is forward, my shoulders are rounded. If my teacup is tipped backwards, they're rounded again, okay? So when I'm sitting on my sitting bones, my shoulders are lovely and relaxed and open. My fifth principle is my head. At all times, I need to imagine that the tip of my head is being pulled all the way up to the ceiling. So when my head is being pulled up to the ceiling, all my other four principles have to actively engage and get into position, okay? So let's stand up now and let's play a little bit of active posture bingo, okay? I'm going to stay kneeling down just because of space here. Okay, so I want you to stand up, okay? So in your standing position, I want you to just feel how you're standing now. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to put your hands on your ribs and take 3 big deep breaths in and out. And as you take 3 big belly breaths in, I want you to feel how your body automatically lengthens and strengthens, okay? Well done. So the first thing is get the breath going. Now in this standing position, I'll try and stand, you might still see me. Okay, in the standing position now, I want you to take the weight back onto your heels. And when we are in a slumped posture, or when we're not in an active posture, the weight comes forward onto our toes. When we take the weight back onto our heels, we get a much better posture, okay? So weight back onto your heels. Now, let's look at our pelvic position. I want you to tip your teacup backwards. See how you slump. Come up again. Tip your teacup forwards. Now weight back onto your heels, teacup level, okay? Another way to see if your teacup is level is put your hands on your bones here and your fingers on your pubic bones, okay? And just rock your pelvis back and forth. And the point where your fingers are pointing towards the floor and your hands are level, that's what we call your neutral position, okay? Now let's look at the tummy, okay? So in this position, I want you to breathe in, and as you breathe out, pull your belly button up towards your ribs. As you pull the belly button up towards your ribs, do you feel your pelvis coming into a neutral position? Okay, release it again. Inhale. As you exhale, pull your belly button up to your ribs. Lovely, feel your pelvis and relax. Lovely. Your shoulders, just draw back your shoulders, open up your chest. Now lengthen your head up to the ceiling. You've been pulled up by a crane and release. So we give each one numbers. So our breath is our number 1. Big deep breaths in and out is number 1. I'll kneel down again so you can see me. Big deep breath in and out is number 1. Number 2 is the weight back onto your heels, neutralizing your pelvis. Number 3 is drawing your belly button up towards your spine. Number 4 is opening up the chest. Just softly opening up the chest. Number 5 is lengthening your head up to the ceiling. Okay? I'm going to call out a number and I want you to adapt that body part and feel what the difference it makes to your posture. Okay? So when you're ready, slump in your biggest, dirtiest posture. You've had a hard day. Okay, breathe in. As you breathe out, number 1, take 3 big deep breaths in. So do you feel with the big deep breaths in, it elongates you up, okay? So tense upper body posture versus nice belly breath posture. Slump again. Let's go to number 2. Take the weight back onto your heels, level up your pelvis. If you're sitting, weight onto your sitting bones, feel what happens and relax. Okay, let's go on to number 3, slump again. Now draw your belly button up towards your ribs, zip it up, feel yourself lengthen. Wonderful. Number 3, slump into your position. Now, open up your chest as much as you can. Take the hands back and lengthen up. Wonderful. Feel where you are. And last one, dirty posture again. You have a crane attached to the top of your head and it's pulling you all the way up to the ceiling. How would it make you feel? It gets you back up into a lovely tall standing position again. Okay? And rest. So what I want you to understand is that there are 5 principles when it comes to posture. Your breath, your abs, your pelvis, your shoulders, and your head. Everybody has one thing that makes them correct the most. So play with the 5 and see which one would be your cue that would help you to have everything stacked, because when everything is stacked, it's most efficient. Okay, so play with it yourself sitting in the car, play with it at your desk, or play with it when you're out paddling. Is my weight on my sitting bones? Are my shoulders open? Am I taking nice big deep breaths? And is my head lengthened away from me? Okay, so we call that dynamic posture, and it's always changing. But you have the ability to change your whole posture just by changing one of the 5. So when we are in our lengthened dynamic posture, it's very energy efficient because my head is the weight of 3 bags of flour. So when my head is balanced on the top of my head, everything is happy and it's not using much energy. The more I come away from this neutral position, the more my muscles have to work and the more energy expenditure I have, but also the less my deep muscles work that help to keep me upright and that are very energy efficient. And it all comes back to energy efficient. The more I am in my lovely neutral posture, the less likely I am to have an injury. The more out of this I am, the more likely I am to get aches and pains, most specifically muscle aches here or back pain there. Okay? Now, one of the big things that we have as paddlers is we all talk about hip issues and lower back issues, okay? So I'm going to run through a little exercise program now that is going to help to mobilize the hips and that's going to help to mobilize the back a little bit, okay? These exercises that we're going to do are not going to feel like very big, strong exercises, but they're very important exercises to help to teach the body to work in the way that we want them to work the best, okay? So when you're ready, grab a mat. Okay, I want you to lie down on the mat. Okay? Oops. Okay, so when you're ready, I want you to put your hands onto your tummy. So if we have had back pain or if we have had hip pain, our hip and our back like to work as one unit. When this happens, you might feel stiffness into your inner thighs if you've been kayaking a lot, okay? So one of the first things we need to do is we need to strengthen our tummy muscles first off, okay? And then we need to teach the leg to work itself independently of the tummy, okay? So pop your hands on your tummy. So breathe in. As you breathe out, just draw your belly button into your spine and hold it there as you keep breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. Inhale. As you exhale, draw the belly button in again, bring it all the way in, hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. Last time. Breathe in. As you breathe out, draw your belly button in, bring it all the way in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. Marvelous. Okay. Now put your hands on your tummy. Okay. Breathe in. As you breathe out, draw your belly button in towards your spine. Imagine you have a tray of drinks on your tummy and your tummy doesn't want to move. Slide your right heel away from you very slowly without your tummy muscle, without your pelvis moving. Breathe in and hold it there. As you exhale, keep the tummy in, bring your heel back towards your sitting bone. Good. Inhale. As you exhale, draw your belly button in. Slide your right heel away from you as far as you can. Inhale. As you exhale, keep your tummy really tight. Slide your right heel all the way back towards your bum. And what you want to avoid is this hip hitching, which is your back muscles, trying to take the leg back. Okay? So one more time. Breathe in. As you breathe out, slide your heel away. Inhale. As you exhale, take the heel back towards your bum. Let's change sides. If you've had back pain, you'll find that that side is going to want to hitch up. Inhale. As you exhale, draw your belly button in. Slide your left heel away from you as far as you can. Inhale and hold. Draw your heel back towards your sitting bone without hiking up your hip. Inhale. As you exhale, slide your left heel away from you as far as you can. Inhale. As you exhale, slide your heel to your sitting bone. Last time. Inhale. As you exhale, tummy in, slide your left heel away. Inhale. As you exhale, slide your heel up. Lovely. Next one. And this is a really lovely one now for if we've been sitting in the boat too long or doing too much rolling and you get your inner hip pain. Hands on your tummy. You've got a tray of drinks on your tummy so your pelvis doesn't want to move, okay? So inhale. As you exhale, draw your tummy in. Let your right knee very slowly fall out to the side, okay? Don't let your hip dip. Breathe in. As you breathe out, draw your leg back into the inside. And you don't want the tummy muscles to hitch the hip back in. Breathe in. As you breathe out, let the right leg fall out to the side. My glass of wine is staying balanced on my tummy. Inhale. As I exhale, I draw in my tummy and I pull my knee in nice and steady. And I'm not hitching in like this, okay? The leg may feel heavy when you're pulling it in. Let's change sides. Inhale. As you exhale, draw your tummy in. Let the left knee fall out to the side. Inhale and hold. Exhale, draw the tummy in, pull the knee all the way back in. Inhale and hold. Let the left knee fall out to the side. Inhale and hold. Draw the knee all the way back in. Inhale and hold. Or exhale and hold. Let the knee fall out. Inhale. As you exhale, take the knee all the way back in. Marvellous. Let's progress it a little bit more, okay? So, breathe in. As I breathe out, I take one leg up to tabletop. I imagine that I have a biro or lipstick on my knee. And I just want to draw circles on the ceiling, okay? So my tummy muscles are keeping my back nice and level. So it's just your kneecap that is drawing circles. So start nice and small with your circles. If you feel that your pelvis is moving, stop. We don't want that. We just want the hip moving nice and slow and nice and gentle, coming all the way around. If this is too easy for you, you can straighten your leg to the ceiling and then you can start doing your circles with a straight leg up to the ceiling. Okay, and then change direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower the leg, change sides. Draw your tummy in. Left leg to tabletop. Imagine you've lipstick or a biro on your left knee and circles. 1. And you will not have two sides the same. 3, 4, 5. Change direction. 5. And if you're stronger, straight leg. 4, 3, 2, 1. Marvellous. Lower the leg. This is really, really important to get the hip functioning independently of the pelvis. But also if you've any arthritis or any hip pain, this is like a pestle and mortar. It's like stirring soup in the joint, and the joints absolutely love it. Okay? Right, moving on to your side. Okay, so these next exercises, you will feel an ache with them, okay? And you will feel an ache deep into your bum, okay? So when you're ready, I want you to lie on your side. I want you to find the fleshy bit of your bum. Okay, and put your hand on it. Your heels are together and your heels are in line with your sitting bones. Draw your tummy in. Draw your tummy in. Lift up the top knee 1/2 inch and lower it down. Belly button in. Lift the knee up and down. Belly button in. Lift the knee up and down. Now point the leg away from you. Okay, I want you to look at the knee. And I want you to make sure that your kneecap is pointing forward, okay? Now feet to face, take the foot up in front, point the toe, pull it back. Put your top hand on your tummy so that you really feel that you're pulling in the tummy. Feet to face, pull the leg out in front, point the toe, pull it back. Feet to face, pull the leg in front, point it, pull it back. 2 more. Feet to face, pull it in front, point it, all the way back. Feet to face, in front, point it, pull it back. You will feel a burn in your bum with these. Feet to face, all the way in front, bring it back. Lovely. Lower the leg. Straighten the top leg. Pull your feet to your face. Lift and lower. 1. Lift and lower. 2. Lift and lower. 3. Make sure your tummy is in, so you're just working your leg muscles. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold it up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lower the leg. Excellent stuff. The next exercise is going to hurt and you are going to feel a burn, okay? So, point the toe, lift the leg. Check your kneecap is pointed forward. Draw your belly button in for support. 5 circles forward. 1, 2. You're hurting. 3. We're going to 8. 4. Keep it up. 5, 6, 7, 8. Change direction. You are hurting, but it's really important. 1, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep the tummy in. 3. Tummy in. 2, 1. Excellent. Give the bum a rub. Excellent stuff. The burn you feel are your deep bum muscles working, and they're working independently of the tummy. Fabulous stuff, okay? So come up into a sitting position and we'll just give that hip a little stretch after that, okay? So we call this rock the baby and it's lovely. Left hand under right heel, wrap the hands around the knee and just hug the baby from side to side, and you get a beautiful stretch into that muscle that we just worked, and it is going to feel sore, okay? It's a deep muscle and deep muscles are very lazy, so when we activate them they make us pay for it, okay? Well done. And then we can just lower the leg. Right hand on the outside of the left knee, left hand behind us, look over my left shoulder, pull the right knee away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and back. Last time, pull the right knee away, look over my left shoulder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and back. And we're going to change sides. So, heels together, heels in line with your sitting bone. So when you're ready, ankles together, hand on the fleshy part of your bum to make sure it's facing the ceiling, tummy in. Lift the top knee up and down. Good. And if you feel it in your hamstrings or in your quads, roll the bum more forward. 2, 3, 4, 5. Straighten the top leg. Draw your tummy in. Look at your knee. Make sure it's pointing forward. So feet to face, take the leg in front, point the toe, bring it back. Feet to face, in front, point, bring it back. Feet to face in front, point, bring it back. Feet to face in front, point, bring it back. Feet to face in front, point, bring it back. 3 more. Feet to face, point, bring it back. Make sure it's going in a straight line and not making a C curve. Good. 2 more. Feet to face, point, bring it back. Last one. Feet to face, point, bring it back. Lovely. Now feet to face, lower the top leg, hand on your tummy to make sure it's engaged. Okay, draw your tummy in, feet to face, lower and lift. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're starting to feel the burn now. 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold her up there for 10. You are feeling it, but stick with it. Remember, it's a lazy muscle we're working, so this is normal. 10, 9, 8. Pull the feet to you. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going to get hard now. 8 circles forward, 8 circles back. Grin and bear it. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Change direction. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, okay. I know you're feeling that. Let's stretch it out. Okay. So when you're ready, okay, left hand, right heel, right hand around the knee, and just stretch that out and get some lovely blood circulating into that muscle that is really sore now. But that's fine. That's good. It's a lazy muscle. It needs to be worked. Okay. Plonk the foot on the ground, left hand, right knee, right hand behind you, look over your shoulder, inhale, as you exhale, lengthen away, breathe into it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and back. Our body loves rotation, so remember, anything we do that makes us look like a J cloth, we absolutely love, and all the way back. Beautiful. Okay, let's do a nice stretch now that stretches the hips and the back together, okay? So in your seated position, put your left foot against your right knee. Inhale, as you exhale, 2 hands up to the ceiling. Inhale, as you exhale, fold all the way forward. Walk your hands towards your ankles. Walk your hands a little bit more. Stretch your inner hand away. Point it away from you, point it up to the ceiling, over your head and all the way back behind you. Inhale and hold. As you exhale, watch the hand as you reach up over your head and all the way back. One more time. Walk your hands a bit more to your ankle. Point it away, up over your head, all the way back behind you. Breathe in. As you breathe out, over your head and all the way back. Excellent. Change sides. Left heel, inside right knee. Inhale, arm to ceiling, coming all the way forward. Good. That's flashing, Richard. Walk the hands forward. Inside hand comes up to the ceiling. Breathe in. As you breathe out, all the way back. Inhale. As you exhale, lengthen up, coming all the way down. Walk the hands. Reach the inside hand away. Reach it up. Over your head, all the way back and down. Inhale. As you exhale, over your head, coming all the way back. Excellent job. And lengthen up. Okay. Well done. So give those exercises a go, okay? They are very much your switching off the hip and the pelvis, getting them to work independently. Then strength exercises for your bum, okay? And then the lovely stretch of rocking the baby is lovely just to get deep into those hip muscles. Remember your active posture. Remember your rule of 5. Weight on your heels or weight on your sitting bones. Second one is your breath, making sure that your breath is deep at all times. Watch that you're breathing into your shoulders. Number 3, if you can then, just remembering your tummy muscles whenever you think about it, just bring your belly button up towards your ribs. Number 4, keeping your chest open. Lovely soft collarbones. Don't bring your shoulders back, just keep your shoulders open. And remember number 5, your head, lengthening your head all the way up to the ceiling. So remember, if you fix 1, you fix 5. So you just find one thing that works for you and that is going to fix the whole package. So give it a go. Well done. Happy paddling.
So I'm just going to ask some of the questions that came in here to Amy, some of the specific things that came in, which are some really, really good stuff that I'd be curious about myself as well. So first one from East Coast Sea Kiting Club is on long paddles, the muscles on the outside of my hips hurt around where they touch the side of the boat. And is there something you can do to relieve that, like during the paddle, or would it be a prehab kind of thing to do before?
Like what I said at the beginning is that our hips are made to move, and we are putting our hips into a position where they aren't moving, so they're not getting nutrients, and the muscles aren't getting a blood supply. So with the one with the legs on the side, okay, if you think about our kayak position, okay, so we're sitting here like this, right? So my bum muscle is keeping my leg in this position. So this is exactly the same as me trying to hold my leg in this position for hours on end. You did a few exercises there and you felt how uncomfortable it was only doing 5 or 8, but you're paddling for 3 hours. So what I would suggest doing this exercise to try and build up the endurance first of all. The second thing that I would do is I would even get something like a foam roller or a tennis ball, and I would just rub that muscle just to soften it up before you went. And then I would look at your boat outfitting as well. I mean, even looking at changing your foot position, if it was a little bit longer, or even if it was more supported inside the thigh brace, so that the muscle wasn't having to work so hard to keep it suspended in that space, because that's what you're doing. If you're not using your footrest properly, and if you're not using your thigh support properly and your hip pads, your muscles have to do the work instead. So we want the connection, which we know we needed the good boat connection. As much as you can, go back to your outfitting and go back to your foot pegs. While I'm here in this position, someone mentioned legs going numb. Okay, so during the video, I spoke to you about what we call our neutral position. So when I'm sitting on my sitting bones, my head is over my shoulders are over my hips. So our body adapts to a position that we're in most of the time. Okay, so if I'm someone and if as part of my life I am sitting with my teacup tipped forward, so I'm bringing weight onto the front of my sitting bones, my back is very arched. So if I'm really good at my computer posture, or if I do a lot of overhead work, or if I have a nice arch in my back, okay, and then I go into my paddle. So my nerves and my muscles have all adapted to being in this position. And then if all of a sudden I go into my kayak and I am sitting off my sitting bones, all of a sudden I am pushing my bum, my nerves and my back into a stretch that I don't do normally during the week. So the first thing is, those of you who do suffer from pins and needles and numbness in the legs, the first thing you want to do is you just want to have a little look and a feel, sitting on your sitting bones, and just see, are you a backward teacup? If you're a backward teacup, you probably have no problems as louder. If you are someone who sits slightly forward of their teacup, well then chances are you are going to put a little bit of weight over the front of your sitting bones, so that when you go into your kayak, and if you are sitting further back, you are going to put the pressure on it. So I would say again, go back and look at your position. Starting small exercises during the week, very simply, just sitting on your sitting bones, our hands are in front as though we're holding a beach ball, and we just roll back off our sitting bones and we come up nice and straight. So what this exercise does is it gets us used to being in that slumped sitting position. It gets our hamstrings working, lengthens our bum muscles, lengthens our back muscles, and it gives our nerves a little bit of a stretch. Somebody mentioned their sciatica and the fact of the one leg going numb on a paddle. So I mentioned the start about nerves, and nerves are like a piece of thread, and the piece of thread goes from your back down through your tissues and all the way through the back of your leg, behind your knee, and as I said, 1/3 of people it goes through the piriformis. So 2 things to do with this. The first thing is that our nerves slide through the body like dental floss, okay? So when I move my arm, my nerve just glides through all my muscles and everything, and there's no problem. If I have had back pain, or if I have had disc issues, or if I have had something which was injured, okay, the body is going to heal it, and it's going to form like a scab and healing tissue deep down. So then when I go to, when all the healing's done, when I go to stretch it, the piece of the piece of the nerve, the dental floss going through the tissue, like pulling a thread, might just get a little bit stretched. So if you have had back pain, if you have had sciatica, I suppose do the exercises that you've been given, you know, even like the very simple leg stretches and the knee out. But also when you go back, don't go back 100% completely. Take your time going back, because when things are healing, they need time to stretch and time to loosen. A third of you, your sciatic nerve goes through your piriformis. So your piriformis is a muscle that's deep in your bum. The piriformis is a muscle that is used for rotation of the leg, okay? So another reason why the leg might get numb. So if the nerve is coming down the back of the leg, right, and this piriformis muscle is working to keep the leg stable, and you're doing your rolling and you're doing your bracing, as this muscle gets tired, it's going to get tight, so it's going to squeeze around the piriformis muscle, and you can get leg pain, you can get numbness on one side, okay? And this can happen to a lot of people. So we do variations of an exercise from yoga that you know called the pigeon, okay? So the first thing that we do is we just hug the knee to our shoulder, and then we can hug the knee to the opposite shoulder. So even starting off, hugging the knee to the opposite shoulder, you get a stretch deep in the bum. So even before you're paddling, or even when you step out, hugging your knee to the opposite shoulder and bringing it back. Then those of you who want a more advanced version, then you would put your right heel on your left knee, thread the needle, and just pull up the leg. And again, a huge stretch into the bum. But when you do this one, then you also get a stretch into the hip flexor muscles. So it's all about getting the bum muscle strong. You are in a sustained position, that we weren't meant to be in. But if you can strengthen up your bum muscles, the exercises that we did, if you can do a little bit of that pigeon pose, or just even hugging the knee to your chest, or you know what you do to get the air out of your dry suit when you kind of squat down and bring your knees over to your chest, up to your chest, just even doing that, or putting your foot up on a block or a log or something and bending forward. But you'll know straight away which one works for you depending on where you feel the tightness deep in your bum. Hope that makes sense.
That's even a lot of help for me. I'm sure it's good for everybody else as well. So a lot of these have to do with people seem to have asymmetry with glute or hip. So for example, one up here of I'm experiencing a lot of discomfort in my left glute. It used to happen in the boat, when it happens in the car journeys or just any time sitting too long. And what is the cause of it being only on one side, and what can be done to relieve it?
Sure, look, as always, you know what, you always should get something checked out. One thing that we need to remember is that nobody is perfectly, no one is born equal on both sides. We all have one strong side, we all have one weaker side. So perhaps we tend to stand more on the right leg. I suppose that the person who said there about tightness sitting in the boat and sitting into the car, when we sit into a car, okay, going back again to our teacup position. So when we sit in a car, the car seat, okay, if car seats were designed flat, okay, if we had an accident, the steering wheel would come into our abdominal contents, and they're really hard to repair, okay? So car seats for safety have been developed with the back of the seat coming forward. So because the slope of the seat coming up, so because the slope of the seat comes up, what it does is it tips our weight back off our sitting bones, okay? Thinking of my nerves, okay? My hands are here. I'm going for the accelerator and I'm going for the brake. So what I'm doing is I'm putting my back in a C shape, and now I am stretching out my nerves and stretching out everything. So very much looking at the car seat position. Again, it's working and doing the exercises, just trying to stretch going back and stretch coming up. And we have a rule, and the rule is very simple. You should never sit for 20 without standing, and never stand for 20 without sitting. And that's the way our bodies were devised. So anytime we spend more than 20 minutes in any one position, we're starting to stress the tissues. I know it's not important, or it's not practical, but I suppose the other thing as well is that we have engineered movement out of our lives, right? So when we were designed and when we were built on day one, we weren't meant to be sitting in cars or sitting in boats for very long periods, but because of all this modern engineering, we are starting to get the consequences of it. So I suppose for that person with the leg pain in the car, you need to get it seen, just get it checked, just even just once, but go back to your teacup and go back to what position you're in. Normally is your teacup forward, and then in the car, in the boat, are you going into your backward teacups, or are you going from your hand being here to your hand being there in terms of your joint position? I hope that helps.
So one that's probably applicable directly to the session, just to make sure that if anyone is trying it again, that it's working for them. Someone has asked that doing the session and doing the exercises, they're feeling more of the strain in their thigh and not around the glute or bum muscles. And would that be potentially a weakness identified in a different muscle, or just doing them incorrectly?
Now, the body is really, really clever, okay? So how our body works is we have really deep muscles, okay, in our bum, and these deep muscles are called our articularis, and these deep muscles are deep glute muscles. What they do is they help to keep the joint in its place. So the muscles close to the joint are small muscles. They don't use much energy, but they help to keep things moving nicely. The second layer of muscles take minimal energy, and they do our normal day-to-day stuff. Our top layer of muscles are what we call our shout muscles, our power muscles, our glutes and our quads. So for a joint to work efficiently, you need to have the core muscle for that joint, the next muscle, and the top one working. Now, what happens is that if you back pain, or if we had, say, an accident or pain in something some time ago, these very deep, small muscles, these whisper muscles, what they say, now he's a little bit hurt. So what we'll do is I'll turn down the volume. And by turning down the volume, he can get better again. And then we'll go back to normal. But the body forgets to re-switch on the muscles or turn the volume back up. So I'm going to do that exercise again, and I'm going to show you the difference, okay? So my muscle is really deep. So if you get your hand and if you put on the fleshy part of your bum, right? This is where my deep articularis muscles, like my piriformis and my gluteus minimus are, okay? So whatever muscle is facing the ceiling is working, okay? So when I put my two heels together, when I put my hands on my bum, when my hand is facing the ceiling, and I might even have to rotate my pelvis forward, when I lift up my knee, my bum is working. If this muscle is not as strong as it needs to be, okay, the body is really clever. It will rotate the hips slightly backwards. So now what's facing the ceiling? My quads. So now it's my quads that are doing the job. And then if you put your hand back on your bum, roll the pelvis forward again. My hand is facing the ceiling. Oh, and now it's my glutes, okay? Same with this exercise. If my hand is facing the ceiling, I feel it in my bum straight away. My body is trying to rotate me back, and now all of a sudden, it's my quads doing it, okay? And my bum is delighted. It's gone back to Barbados, you know, I've conjured. So that's why I was saying, and you know, when I was showing you the exercise with the leg slide, okay, the exact same thing happens, that if the bum muscles are weak, instead of the bum muscles bending the leg back up and pushing the leg away, the hip muscle hikes it up instead. So that's why you get, you know, that chunk of pain at your back. So that's why these glute muscles are, they're feckers, there's no other word for it. So that's why even if somebody's back pain or if somebody has hip pain, and it's the very last part of the chain. So if you have a history of back pain, or if you had back pain a while ago, or you've had hip pain, your rehab is never fully finished until you get these deep glute muscles working. But because they're so sneaky, they can make you think that you're working them. So anybody who's had back pain, get back to the video and just even do the tummy and the leg slides and just stop this hitching going on. And you know, when I was saying about the knee falling in and out, again, huge glute exercises. And I was saying keep the glass of wine on your belly button. So when the knee comes out, the body rotates with it and comes back with it instead of the leg going out and the leg coming in. Again, the bigger muscles are cheating. So if you want to rehab a hip, you have to get back to the really small muscles, but you can't rush the exercises. You have to do it when there's nobody around so that you can feel what's happening. And these small muscles, they you don't feel like you're using them, but it's more about looking at your quality of movement, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Another one here about specifically to do with in the kayak, which is when getting out of the kayak, sometimes my hips are stiff. Is there any exercise you could do before getting on the water? So if that might be to incorporate a dry land warm-up, or again, which I think is great, as you mentioned, is to have a look at your outfitting again, because I think outfitting would probably play a huge role. I know it did for me anyway.
I think if you're sitting, like I said, the 20-minute rule, if you're sitting for a while, there's nothing you can do. They are going to get stiff. Yeah, there's no miracle cure, and unfortunately, the older we are, the earlier in the session it kicks in. Do you know what you should do? Pull your deck at the end of the session and have a good swim, and then you won't have any issues climbing up on the bank. And you get your bit of hydrotherapy as well to sort it out. Somebody mentioned there earlier gluteal tendinopathy. Gluteal tendinopathy, I would say go and see someone. Gluteal tendinopathy is a very specific rehab pattern that you need to follow, and it's very much working on weight bearing and unloading a joint, and it can take quite a while. But if you do have gluteal tendinopathy, I would say make sure that it can be quite common in young girls and athletes, and also around the middle age as well. But I would say find someone who is a bit of an expert on hips, because there is quite a lot of evidence coming through now on the best way to manage it, but you need a very specific program for it.
And probably the last one I'll put to you, because I think in answering these, I think you've answered a massive amount of other questions that anybody could possibly have. I'd say is somebody said that they have clicking in their left hip when rotated, but not their right.
Now, this applies to every joint in the body. Okay, if you have clicking, snapping, grinding, plunking, if you have no pain with it, no problem. You know, there's like what we say that it's okay for joints to talk to you once the talk is in pain. So if you are feeling stuff, it's fine. I suppose lots of reasons why there might be clicking. Like with the hip, what we said earlier is that there's loads and loads of small, deep muscles around the hip. And if you look at the hip joint itself, there's loads of bony bits around it. So a muscle is attached to a bone by a tendon. And if you think of a rope going over a rock, okay, if the rope goes over a rock over and over again, the rope starts to fray. So what the body devises, the body is so clever. The body devised what we call bursa. And bursa are like fluid-filled sacs, like balloons. So every time a tendon goes over a bony surface, there's this fluid-filled cushion is put underneath it. You've all heard of bursitis, and actually the hip is very common for bursitis, especially menopausal women. And if you had hip replacement, you can often get lingering pain here as well. So very often what the clicking on the hip can often be is an air bubble in the bursa, and when the tendon goes over it, it can be the popping of it, or it can just be the snapping of the tendon coming over the bursa. But all in all, if you have no pain with bodily noises, well then it's best leave well enough alone.
That is brilliant. Thank you very much, Amy, for answering all those questions. And if anyone's question wasn't answered, if they do have a follow-up question, you could. What I would recommend is probably once the session is available on our YouTube, spend a few weeks doing that session, and I would imagine that would clean up a lot of these issues.
Yeah, so, we'll send on the exercises as well, and a little sheet just with simple hip advice as well.
I'll get a copy of that for myself. Actually. Thank you so much, Amy. And there's the full calendar of the rest of the events is up.